Hey guys, I had a couple of comments on the sexual harassment video. Actually, I had a lot of comments on the sexual harassment video, thank you very much. But there was a couple of comments there from some rather chivalrous guys who were saying what they would do if they saw a girl getting molested or harassed in Japan. I understand how those guys felt. I understand that very well. I've actually a few times been in situations where I've seen sleazy old balding businessmen harassing junior staff members. Socialising in restaurants and so on for work groups is very popular in Japan, very common in Japan. So it's not uncommon to be in a restaurant and see a work group, guys in their suits and ladies in their work clothes, and see the old guys harassing the younger girls. It does happen, as you saw in the other video. And at those times I've been very frustrated because you know, I've really wanted to say something or do something about it, but we just can't do it. A number of reasons. As you would have seen in other videos, Japan is really focused on harmony. Japanese society is really about harmony, and Japanese society has very low crime rates. Also, part of being in Japan, having a visa to be in Japan, there's a provision in it that we must not commit any crimes. That, combined with the fact that if we get into any confrontation at all with a Japanese person, the justice system and the police, if they have to look at statements from a foreigner and compare them to statements with from a Japanese person, most of the time the Japanese person will win. And even though from our point of view it may seem justified, and maybe in our own countries, you know, maybe we'd be justified if we saw something happening that we stepped in and did something, and maybe in our own countries the police would say, oh well, that was a chivalrous thing to do, and that'd be the end of it. In Japan, if we get into any confrontation at all that results in a criminal charge, we can either be jailed, which Japanese jails are a horrible place to be, and then deported, or if it's a minor crime, we might not be jailed, but the next time our visa comes up for renewal, we probably won't get it renewed. So it's just not worth getting into any confrontation at all. I mean, Japan's pretty easy to stay out of confrontation because Japanese people aren't confrontational, but it's really important. It doesn't matter what happens here, we just can't get into any confrontation at all, and that's even with each other. Because if two foreigners get into a confrontation with each other and get charged with disturbing the peace or something similar, that even might be a really minor crime, you know, public drunkenness or something that's minor, you know, obviously won't go to jail for it, but will either be deported and not allowed back. That's the other thing. If you get deported from Japan, it's the same as most countries. I mean, if you go to most countries, that's a provision of being there. If you commit a crime, there's a good chance you'll be deported, and if you're deported, you won't be allowed back, ever. So, you know, this goes for just about any situation that results in us being here. So pretty much any visa or any way that we happen to be in Japan. If we get into trouble, it's game over and it's time to go home. So my strong advice would be just stay out of any trouble. If anybody provokes you, which is really rare here, but if anything happens at all and you can see any trouble developing at all, just stay right out of it. We really don't want to get involved because, you know, rightly or wrongly, you know, foreigners don't always have a very good image here, and even though individually we might have behaved perfectly here, if you get into trouble just once, they'll go, oh, it's just another problem-making foreigner, let's send him home, and it's game over. So we just have to stay squeaky clean and just stay out of any trouble at all and not get involved in anything that's going to result in any sort of problems. So there you are.